Well, hey there, everyone, and welcome to the PvP Live Roundtable, bringing you in-depth discussions on all things gaming and esports. I'm Jeff West, and as always, I'm joined by...
Nabil Pervez, I run influencer marketing.
James Chen, staff writer.
John Culp, YouTube aficionado and video producer number 2.
That is completely accurate. So, last week we reported on a gamer by the name of Gymnast86 who completed a speed run of Zelda Breath of the Wild in just under an hour, which is very, very boss. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to play Breath of the Wild yet myself, but the thing that I've heard from my coworkers and a lot of people is that the open world of Breath of the Wild is a marvel and something to behold. So again, I do not have a Switch, but the three of you guys do. So let's start with you, Nabil. Talk about the expansiveness of this open world. Is it big for the sake of being big, like we've seen in some other open world games, or is it densely and purposefully populated with stuff to do and people to meet?
I think that's the big thing that makes Breath of the Wild different than everybody else is that it's purposeful world design. I think the trend that we've been seeing in open world gaming is just this constant feeling of make it bigger, make it bigger, make it bigger year over year. And, developers have been creating these graphically impressive worlds, but they're just hollow and empty. I mean, Assassin's Creed has these beautiful buildings that I'm scaling to the top, and there's no character here. There's nothing that I really want to think about here. And think about GTA and this massive world. Why do I feel like I want to just take a taxi to all of my destinations? It lacks character. So to me, I think Breath of the Wild captures two themes really well, which is like discovery and freedom. And they both go hand in hand really well because the great thing is that you have all these things that are around you that you're going to have to cope with, but ultimately you're motivated by this feeling of I want to discover, I want to chase down maybe Ganon, or maybe I want to go find that hill that I want to get across and then see what's on the other side, and being constantly having things challenging you passively, and you will allow yourself to really explore this world on your terms at your pace. It's really a feeling that I haven't gotten from any of these other big titles, so it's really refreshing.
I like that you used the word pace there. John, tell us about the, let's call it the freedom of choice in Breath of the Wild. Is there a direct line that the player must follow in order to complete the game, or can you check things off the list however you want, whenever you want?
First off, Nabil, you just said GTA 5 is bad on the internet. Boy.
I'm about to get it. Oh no.
Anyways, yeah. What was the question? Freedom of choice?
Freedom of choice.
Yeah, so right off the bat, from the moment that you walk out of the temple, kind of, sort of, you can start doing whatever you want. There's a little bit of a prologue to the story where you have to complete certain objectives, complete these certain shrines, and then you have to get the glider. Once you get the glider, you're pretty much no holds bar. You can do whatever you want in the world. You can go try to, as a speedrunner did, take on Hyrule Castle, and if you're me, probably die. But it gives you that option. Like, you can go search for the Master Sword. You can go search for the shield, the Hyrulean shield, Hylian shield,
I think.
Hylian. You can go get the Hylian shield if you want to, but it's hard, and I'm not gonna tell you where it is. But you can do it, and so yeah, like from the moment you get off of the first little area, you have the ability to basically do anything that the game contains.
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Granted, what you can mostly do in Breath of the Wild is die repeatedly.
That's true. It is the Dark Souls of Nintendo, as has become evident in my 35-hour playthrough so far.
And I'm glad that you brought up some of the weaponry that you can collect along the way, because one of the main features of an open world game is the number of collectibles you can gather up along the way. James, how do collectible items work in Breath of the Wild? Are they useful and substantive to Link, or is it just filler for completionists who just want nifty little trinkets and jewels and stuff?
So I actually haven't found anything that isn't eventually useful. Because the way that the items work in Breath of the Wild is that they're both plentiful and also utilitarian, right? You will run out of swords eventually. You'll be forced to fight bokoblins with a soup ladle. But you know what? The soup ladle is actually pretty good. It can crush skulls. It's really nice. And the whole thing is, though, that is there's no such thing as collectible for collectible's sake. Like, even with the Korok nuts, Like, you're collecting them so you can expand inventory space, so you can keep on more weapons and more items, and so you can use them to harvest for more items that you can use later on. Like, it all feeds into each other, so that even the stuff that you can't immediately use, you can still turn those into characters who are looking for them for whatever upgrades or systems that they can like apply to you as well. So it's not collectibles in terms of look at all the trophies I collected. It's collectibles in the terms of things that you want to gather and collect up to find a use for later.
The things that you wouldn't think are gonna be useful, or if you just don't use them, like me for example, I don't spend a lot of time cooking or making elixirs just because I abhor it. Like, it's a good system. I just in any game I just don't do it because I feel like it's a waste of my time and it's boring and I'd rather just go buy the shit. But in Breath of the Wild, you can collect monster parts, and there's a character which I just found that you can trade the monster parts for a new type of currency that you can only buy items from him. So even something that you're not thinking you're gonna use, like even for elixirs, monster parts, still collect them, because if you find the dude, you could get cool monster shit.
Now, meanwhile, I'm the only guy in my entire household of 3 roomies that cooks properly, and I actually really like the inventiveness of the cooking system, because I just figured out how to make really meaty rice balls.
Ooh, baby.
Another aspect of open world is the concept of the sandbox. You know, you can just run around doing completely random stuff. So what are some highlights of randomness that you guys have seen thus far that you've been able to do or see other players do?
I think the best part for me is still being able to slide down hills on the shield. That's still just the coolest thing to me. I've started to incorporate that into like how I run between points to points, and I think I've lost way too many shields doing it. But
if you haven't checked out Video Game Donkey's video on Breath of the Wild he released last week, he uses the different runes to their fullest extent, like dropping logs on people and using the stasis thing to launch stuff and hit the goblins, and like it's unending. Like, your creativity is the limitation, because like initially the runes are just like, those are cool, but the things that you can actually do with them really expand the possibility and allow you to get real creative rather than just time to find a sword and hack and slash this bitch.
speaking of swords, though, there was I don't know if you guys saw the clip of that rusted broadsword that Link throws into this big monster that like inhales stuff and spits it out really fast. So he throws the sword into this rock demon thing and he spits it out, and it hits Link and he like loses like 4 hearts like instantly, like goes out supersonic. But he picks up the sword and it's like this perfect Hyrulean broadsword. Like the monster sucked all the rust off of it and gave him like this pristine sword again. Like all these small little things that you wouldn't expect.
I think also the best demonstration of this is that even the puzzles in the game are fully like physics solvable, right? Like they only give you 4 runes, 4 tools, whereas like in previous Zelda games you get the boomerang, the hook shot, all this other stuff. No, this time you only have 4. But those 4 combine with the entire environment. So if you want to like bypass a wall, all you really need to do is use a stasis effect, like drop a metal object on top of your like summonable bombs, use a stasis effect, blow up the bombs, launch yourself 100 feet up into the air, and then slowly drift onto your target.
He's true. He's telling the truth.
So again, the whole genesis of this conversation is that Breath of the Wild has finally gotten open world right. John, you had some interesting talking points as we were discussing this earlier. What is it about this game that puts its open world above the open worlds of Skyrim or The Witcher, these other
Jesus!
huge and influential open world games? See how I'm just going to edit out the part where I cough?
Yes, I liked it. It was very impressive. See, I don't necessarily think that it's above these games, but it definitely gives them a run for their money. There's plenty of open world games that it is above. I'm looking at you, Hello Games.
Procedural generation!
Continue.
The reason why Skyrim and Witcher works is because as you travel, there's different things to do to distract you from the main campaign. Because if you clear the main campaign, you get through it quick and it's game over. But Breath of the Wild, what is completely different is the fact that the different things you can do and the challenges that you find, it's not as simple as time to squander across this wasteland. It's can I viably survive crossing this desert, or will I have enough stamina to climb this cliff? Like, everything is a challenge, even if it's not a direct puzzle, even if it's not a direct enemy. Just the environment, the openness, do I have enough apples to make this baked pie? Like, there's always a challenge to overcome in this game.
You mentioned stamina. So answer me this. All of these pitfalls and hurdles of stamina, weapon durability, all that stuff, are they a good thing? Does it enhance the open world gameplay experience?
There are limitations only if you're not being creative enough or if you're simply not bothering to look for them. There are very, very many ways to accomplish any of the goals you want to. You can use the abilities you're given to you, you can use the weapons, you can use the environment. Whereas in a lot of other open world games, a lot of games in general, like you only really have one playstyle, right? Like in the case of Just Cause, what you're doing is blowing shit up until you win the game. In the case of Zelda, it's completely up to you on how you solve the damn puzzle, or how you get past the major enemy camps, or how you even scavenge resources. You'll find that it's really, really hard to go anywhere without finding a decent weapon along the way, whether like it's a rusty broadsword, or a traveler's sword, or a new bow and arrow kit. And then, even then, if you run out of those, there are pitchforks, there are mops, you can hit people with...
Zelda: Dead Rising.
Pretty much. Or, as it's better known, Zelda Jackie Chan style. Because you can beat them up with farming implements and improvise your way through the game if you absolutely want to.
And you can take out a whole army with a ladder.
Precisely.
Thanks, Jackie Chan.
Let's wrap this up with the idea of world building, because that's, I think, the key element to an open world game. Yes, there's crafting and resource management and all these things, but is there a sense of established history in Breath of the Wild? Are there fully developed side characters? And what is it that breathes life into Breath of the Wild? I'm sorry for that pun, that was completely unintentional.
I think you showed me this, John, was a video of one of the ranches that was in one of the previous Zeldas that was like torn apart.
Oh yeah, Lon Ranch.
Yeah. So you would see like the original one, it's put together, it's all nice, and then just destroyed. And it shows you like, this is the world that you remember, but time has definitely taken its toll. But even then, some of the characters that you once remember from previous Zeldas, like all the homies from previous games, are here in this game. So it really does a good job of like taking all the aspects of previous games and then putting it here and doing a little bit of a remix on it.
Except for Tingle. Tingle's not in there. Well, there's an island named Tingle. I don't know, he might be in there.
Tingle!
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the PvP Live Roundtable. Leave us some comments, guys. What do you think about the open world in Zelda? What are some of your other favorite open world games? And
Smash that mother like button and subscribe.
until next time, you're watching esports on PvP Live.